Good morning everybody, wakey wakey, it's time for morning glory. My name is MC Kalia and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going. Good morning everybody, wakey wakey, it's time for morning glory. My name is MC Kalia and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going. Good morning everybody, wakey wakey, it's time for morning glory. My name is MC Kalia and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going. Good morning everybody, wakey wakey, it's time for morning glory. My name is MC Kalia and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going. Show another edition of the Social Square. This is where we bring you topics to do with your day in, day out lives. Of course, here we talk about anything and everything that pertains your livelihood. And today we have with us Mr. Tito Koyet. He's the municipal manager, Eldoret Municipal Manager. And the topic to this particular morning is the opportunities, the new opportunities in the upcoming Eldoret city. We just want to look at what is in for everyone as we get into the city status. Of course, before we go there, allow me to also remind you that we are coming live from Dawi Afrique Photography. Dawi Afrique Photography is a photography studio based in Eldoret. That is based in Eldoret, Zion Mall. And anytime you want anything goes into photography, video production, consider working with the Dawi Afrique Photography. If you just joined me, let me know where you're joining us from. Kama uko pale nyumbani, let me know where exactly you're joining us from. I'll be sampling some of your comments. If you have any question for Mr. Tito Koyet about Eldoret town, or rather Eldoret city, then feel free to also shoot your questions. Of course, there are those that have already sent in their questions. I'll also create some time and let Mr. Tito Koyet explain them to you. Also, within this particular town, if you'd want to really dress to be addressed, you need to visit D-Square School of, you need to visit D-Square Fashion House. And D-Square also have a school of fashion design. So if you really want to learn how to tailor, you want to learn how to design, that is a fabric and all that, then consider walking into D-Square. At D-Square, you'll get to be dressed, and also you'll get to learn how to dress people to be addressed. They are situated at the 4th floor of Ketia's building in the Eldoret CBD. I usually love telling you that they have the best environment for you to learn from the best, because they have a fashion house. So that means immediately you exit class, you have an opportunity of learning from the best inside the fashion house. Without wasting much time, allow me to welcome Mr. Tito Koyet. Of course, it's not the first time he's on this particular show. The last time he was here, we were talking about our preparedness towards the city status. Now, we've gone through all that. Of course, he'll be able to also tell us at what stage exactly are we at the moment. But then before that, Bwana Tito Koyet, say hi to our viewers.
Well, good morning, viewers. As you've been told, my name is Tito Koyet. I'm the manager for the municipality of Eldoret. I'm happy to be back here at Dawi Afrique, and I'm looking forward to engaging with the audience of Dawi Afrique and to be able to answer questions that may arise on our journey to becoming a city and the opportunities therein in becoming, once we become a city in the North Rift region.
Okay, thank you. And of course, thank you so much for also creating time to be with us. Of course, it is an early morning show, and you being here this early shows the amount of commitment the government has to really make this town bigger than it looks and make it a city. And the first question that comes in is, now, we did, the last time you were here, we were doing we were collecting views from the public. We collected them, and of course, we are now at a different stage. Where are we at the moment?
Okay, thank you very much, MC Kalia. Yes, last time I was here, we were at a stage where we were collecting views from the public, what we call citizens' participation or citizens' fora. And we carried out that exercise, and it was a very intensive one. We were able to speak to the residents of this town and all the stakeholders across the spectrum. And we got overwhelming response to the invitation for the people of Eldoret to tell us what they think about their town and what their wishes were. And we got 93% endorsement for those people who said that they wanted Eldoret to become a city. And this is important for us because naturally the journey must have the blessings of the people, because the impact of becoming a city is always on the people who live in the town. So it was very important that we got to hear the views of the people and eventually put that as part of the journey to becoming a city here in Eldoret.
And of course, I remember the last question I asked you, also that time, was your biggest worry about us becoming a city? And of course, it was about the benefits that come to the people of this region. And you told me that your biggest worry then was that the people of this city may end up not benefiting fully from the city if they don't prepare well mentally and in all aspects for that. Have you seen any change? Do you feel we are now getting ready? Do you feel there's an environment where people now are starting to look at opportunities and all that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Remember, MC Kalia, that becoming a city was actually part of the manifesto of the current governor, His Excellency Jonathan B. It was actually his 10th item in the Nguzo Kumi manifesto, which looked at Eldoret as a very important economic hub in the region, which not only requires support of his government, but also the support of the people of Uasin Gishu. And I think over time, the people of Eldoret and the people of Uasin-Gishu and the people of the North Rift region have actually realized that becoming a city represents a very huge opportunity for them. Remember, I mentioned to you last time when we were here that Eldoret is actually the fastest growing town in Kenya. And it is growing at a staggering rate of 5.2% per annum in comparison to the national average of 3.7%. Remember, Eldoret is very far away from Nairobi. Remember, Eldoret is a hinterland town. And yet this unprecedented growth is only being realized in Eldoret. That means that if the people of the region are not able to take advantage of the opportunities that come with the city status and even the mere urban environment where we live in, others are going to take advantage because they are already coming this way, and they are coming in droves from all over the country. You know, from every corner of this country, we have people identifying opportunities and coming here. Of course, one of the biggest attractions we have in Eldoret is not just the business opportunities that we have, but our location. You know, we live in a very convenient location. We have the, you know, very good climate in this part of the world. We have very friendly people in our town and the entire county, and there are myriad opportunities that people have identified, and they are coming for them here in Eldoret. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not worried. I'm not really worried about whether our people are going to take advantage of the city status or not. I think within a very short time we've noticed marked difference and interest in our own people. Let me give you a very simple example. We have programs that the county government is running. For example, the issues of affordable housing. In the meetings that I've been able to join the governor, you know, both within the town, within the municipality, and outside, we have seen immense interest in people, even farmers, expressing interest in owning a property in town, owning an apartment, for example, because, you know, people realize that you don't necessarily need to live and work in the rural areas if you're a farmer. I mean, you could have a home in town and just go to the farm like everybody else wakes up in the morning to go to work. Even you as a farmer can wake up from you know, an urban environment with all the amenities and facilities that you can have in an urban environment, and go back to your farm to work. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Of course, that is Mr. Tito Koyet. He's the municipal manager, Eldoret Municipal Manager. And this particular morning, he's taking us through the opportunities, the new opportunities that will come with the elevation of Eldoret into a city. And of course, I started where we left last, where we were talking about him being worried that actually we were not, we didn't look like people who are ready. But then nonetheless, we've seen that change. And Tito, when you talk about people coming from elsewhere, I had a friend of mine who was so determined to move from Mombasa to Eldoret because of the city status, and that actually also informs the reason why I called you for this particular show. So many people telling you natafuta nafasi ya biashara Eldoret, and as we go towards that direction, you realize that also we are starting to even attract beyond just individual business owners, but then also even other governments, other county governments. And this year we are going to have the devolution conference in this particular town. I don't know if by that time it would be a city already.
Well, it's our wish that by then we'll become a city. Maybe allow me to take you back a little to the journey to becoming a city, because it's a whole process. It's not something that one would wake up and you know, turn an urban area into a city. You know, first and foremost, the journey to becoming a city is provided for in law. Under Urban Areas and Cities Act, there are provisions to how urban areas in Kenya can be created, and there are various urban areas. We have market centers, we have towns, we have municipalities, and then we have cities, and each of them has a process to attaining the status. So, for example, to become a city, First and foremost, you must be a municipality. That means that you must have a municipal board, you must have municipal administration led by the municipal manager, and all the other staff that are supposed to manage the affairs of the municipality. So if, for example, the board of the municipality feels that the municipality is ripe to becoming a city, then they must pass a resolution, in the board. After passing the resolution in the board to start the journey, which means, of course, they must have done their research to be able to ascertain that the municipality complies with the requirements of the law to be elevated to become a city. So that's exactly what happened with the municipality of Eldoret. The board sat, it created a technical committee which looked at all the relevant sections of the law and the compliance, not only with Section 5 of Urban Areas and Cities Act, but also the compliance with the services that are required under the first schedule of Urban Areas and Cities Act, Amendment Act of 2019. And once that happens, then satisfied that they qualify to become a city, they pass a resolution, which is what our board did in 2021. And passing a resolution means then you have to communicate with the executive, to write to the executive. Actually, the county executive committee, which is the governor and his county executive committee members, the waziris in the cabinet. So you have to table a cabinet paper, and that is exactly what happened. The waziri in charge of urban areas tabled a cabinet paper informing the CEC that the municipality of Eldoret has passed a resolution, and they wish to be they wish to have Eldoret conferred the status of a city. And once the cabinet deliberates, they also make their decision, and in this case they agreed with the board, and the governor formed an ad hoc committee. The formation of an ad hoc committee is also prescribed in law, under Section 8 of Urban Areas and Cities Act. That means that there are various institutions which have been provided for in law who are requested to give professionals who can then be able, to join the membership of the ad hoc committee and critically look at the requirements of the law and the compliance of the city or the town into, for the potential conferment of city status. So you have various professionals from various institutions, for example, institutions of planners of Kenya, institution of certified public accountants, Law Society of Kenya, institution of surveyors of Kenya, and the business community, and also people who are generally involved on issues related to those interest groups in the urban area. We also have membership from the Architectural Association of Kenya. So we have a professional ad hoc committee whose job is very well cut out in the law. Then they begin the process. And when we came here last time, we already had the ad hoc committee in place. They were already listening to the views of the citizens. And I think last week, if you can remember, on the 4th of April, they handed over their report to the governor, to His Excellency the Governor. And handing over the report to His Excellency the Governor means that they can, the process can now move to the next phase. And that phase is where the governor transmits the report to the county assembly, which will look at the report and approve it if they think Eldoret actually merits the conferment of the status of a city. And we are hoping that they will, because during the citizen participation, majority of the members of the county assembly, including the speaker, the deputy, the leader of majority, the leader of minority, and members of the county assembly actually came to give their views, and they all overwhelmingly endorsed the journey of Eldoret becoming a city. So we believe that having also engaged the Committee on Urban Housing and Urban Development of the County Assembly, they have expressed their desire to receive the report as quickly as possible, which they will, as a committee, table it before the House. We trust and believe that the County Assembly is going to endorse that report. And if they do, then the clerk of the County Assembly will transmit that report to the clerk of Senate. Then the clerk of Senate will table it before Senate. We also trust that Senate is going to approve the report. We trust because we have engaged, during this whole journey, various senators, even from across, the entire region. They have been also waiting for this report. They're actually waiting in Senate for the report. So we believe that Senate will approve the report. And if they do, then the clerk of Senate will transmit the report to His Excellency the President, who will then be able to grant a charter for city status for the municipality of Eldoret. And we are hoping that that will happen before the devolution conference. So the fact that we have the devolution conference in Eldoret is also a big endorsement on our town, on our municipality. So we are looking forward to going through the remaining processes, and hopefully when the President will be here in Eldoret during the devolution conference, he'll also be able to grant us the charter to converting or conferring Eldoret the status of a city.
And of course, that depends on a lot of goodwill.
Yes, it depends on a lot of goodwill, which we have already seen from the people, from the residents of Eldoret, and from the people of the entire North Rift region. They have expressed this desire to have Eldoret as a city. Remember, becoming a city is not only advantageous to us as a municipality, it is also advantageous to the entire region.
And then I remember the governor, on a lighter note,
yes,
telling them they don't have an option because we are even housing their governors.
Yes,
they better.
Yeah, that's very interesting because Eldoret is a regional hub. So we have all the amenities and the quality of life that, of course, everybody would like to share. And for that reason, we have a number of governors from the region also having Eldoret as their home. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for that. That is Mr. Tito Koyet. He is the Eldoret Municipal Manager, and of course, si kwa ubaya, but then we are really housing almost every other leader in this county, and we are looking forward also to the city status. And now let's say handling the bull by the horns, let's look at these new opportunities that the city status presents to Eldoret. And as we head towards that direction, the first question that comes into that the opportunities will come from the uniqueness of this particular region. How different will Eldoret City be from Nairobi City, Kisumu City, or even Mombasa City?
Yeah, thank you, MC Kalia. Eldoret has always been a very unique place. Let's start with the climatic conditions of Eldoret. We have average temperatures of about 16 degrees, on average. Those kind of temperatures are very good for living. Our altitude is 2,200 meters above sea level, which also means we are not too high in terms of altitude, neither are we too low. So we are just perfect. We live in perfect climatical conditions. Our rains are so reliable. Actually, our farmers never wonder whether it will rain this year. What they simply do is, at the right time, they prepare their land, and at the right time, they plant, and they know it will rain. And we've been so blessed because that is exactly what happens. That's why a lot of the time we are called the breadbasket of Kenya, because of our agricultural potential and our ability to grow food for the rest of the country. So Eldoret is a perfect place to live in. It's a spacious place. It's a good place to bring up families. We have so many opportunities for family living. The governor, the county commissioner, and all concerned have been working very hard to ensure that we deal with the vices that also come with urbanization, like drug abuse, like alcoholism, and so many other vices that come. So Eldoret is a good place to live in because so far a lot of issues that become serious challenges in urban areas have been addressed in this town, unlike in many other places. So this is a place that, of course, everyone would like to come in. Also remember that we live in, we are about 300 kilometers north of Nairobi, which means that we are the next big place where anyone would like to invest in. Nairobi is now a very congested place, and the serious traffic jams that you experience in Nairobi, commute hours are very long in Nairobi. The next most logical alternative for anybody who would like to invest in Kenya is actually Eldoret. Now we have an international airport, which according to Kenya Airports Authority, during their presentation also as one of the stakeholders, they told us that they have these plans to expand the runway of Eldoret International Airport. That means before long, we won't only be receiving the number of, the kind of flights that we are receiving so far. And for your information, those flights have been increasing, but we'll also be able to land bigger planes, in our town. So, cargo planes and the other bigger planes that at the moment are only able to land either in Nairobi or Mombasa will also be able to land here. We have access to, we sit astride the Great North Road, if you know that.
Biggest corridor?
The biggest corridor in the region, that is A8, which cuts through our town. And we have, the national government has recently done the southern bypass in our town to ease congestion in the CBD. So we have, the infrastructure that we have is world class in terms of having, an international airport, having trunk roads, having a railway cutting through our town. And by the way, Kenya Railways is soon developing what they are calling a railway city in the midst of our town. And that railway city is part of the big plans that Eldoret has to improve its amenities and infrastructure, including accommodation and other services within the town. Eldoret also has very fast internet. It's got a redundant connectivity from several internet suppliers. So we have broadband internet. That is why, by the way, MC
we are running this show.
You are able to run this show.
I knew you were coming there.
And if you check, you'll notice that the processes you go through from the time I speak to the time your audience receives the communication is so short because of and yet the kind of processes that have to go, the converting the voice to a digital signal back to transmitting it and then back to voice again for your audience to be able to hear. That means you require high-speed internet, which we have in this town. So those are some of the advantages we have. I want to, of course, mention other amenities that we have in this town. Some very critical infrastructure like for example, medical services. We are hosting the second largest referral hospital in Kenya, the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, which is not only a regional hospital, but it's also a fairly international hospital in the sense that MTRH receives patients from across East Africa, whether it's Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Congo, South Sudan. They all come here for medical services. So it is part of the reason why we are attracting people in this town. And Eldoret is a very magnetic place. Once somebody comes here, stays for a little while, they will never go back. MTRH, I'm informed, has more expert consultants, than, for example, the Kenyatta National Hospital, the largest referral hospital in Kenya. So that tells you there is something about Eldoret that everybody really, from wherever they are, within Kenya and the region, should pay very close attention because Eldoret is going places.
Okay, Eldoret is going places. Of course, there will be a few questions about the opportunities that you've talked about, and we'll try to look at also the viability of those particular opportunities that you've talked about. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Morning Glory Show, of course, coming to you live from Dawi Afrique Photography. It is exactly 9 minutes past the hour 8 in the AM, and with us in studio is Mr. Tito Koyet. He is the municipal manager, or rather the Eldoret Municipal Manager. Of course, we are talking about the opportunities that will come with Eldoret becoming a city. And he's mentioned quite a few, and of course, some of them may not even need questioning because some of them are too obvious to be seen. For example, the internet connectivity that you cannot run the Morning Glory Show without a good connectivity of internet. But then Bwana Tito Koyet, closing in now to the items you've mentioned, and the first one, of course, would be the last one that you mentioned, the issue of health. We actually are a medical city, I would say, or rather a medical town, and now that we are not yet a city. But then a question came in asking about what we've done, what extra thing have we done about our the many amenities that we enjoy, especially in terms of medical tourism and all that. Do you have a plan to maybe have other countries and other people coming to this town to learn how we run our medical amenities? Then also there was the concern that as much as we talk about Moi teaching and referral, of course we have other private hospitals surrounding the Eldoret Moi teaching referral hospital. Could it be that we are saying we are a medical city, but then we depend on the private, the other private hospitals? There was a concern about how much control do we have over the number of hospitals we have in this region, and to what advantage does it bring to us apart from just being able to handle our emergencies?
I think you appreciate that responsibility number one of any government is actually social responsibility.
Of course.
For everything that they do. And one of the major issues, of course, on social responsibility is actually the creation of facilitative environment or enabling environment for business to thrive. So the fact that we have so many private hospitals in this town means that the county government has created a facilitative environment for them to be set up and to thrive. And therefore, the county government has continued to create the laws and the environment that is conducive for investors to be able to set up their businesses here in Eldoret. And of course, I think what you quoted as, like the hospitals is a very good example. There are so many other opportunities, of course, that have been created through the facilitative environment that the county government has created. And that is why we have so many people coming into our town. I did not mention to you that the national government is also creating a big hospital, a bigger referral hospital. The current referral hospital actually sits on county government facility, and therefore the national government is creating a bigger hospital in just within town around Kiplombe, so that the county government can continue running the existing facility at MTRH. And remember also, Uasin Gishu is one of those counties which have very functional medical services, public medical services, and it is the reason why we have so many people from the surrounding counties actually coming for medical services here in Kenya. They don't only, here in Uasin Gishu and particularly in Eldoret, so they don't only come to the referral hospital, they also come to our district hospitals. We have specialized hospitals for women, we have specialized hospitals, eye hospitals and so on, and we have all these opportunities in Eldoret for people to come and take advantage of.
Okay, and of course, thank you so much for that. For a minute, I happen to have really listened to you to the extent that I forgot that I was the host for this particular show. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Mr. Tito Koyet for you. And of course, when he speaks about Eldoret, to some of us, he speaks to the heart, because that is where everything depends on us. Yanga Eldoret tu ndio tuko nayo, hatuna kitu ingine. Anyway, and you've also talked about the issue of the southern bypass. You've talked about the issue of Uganda Road, or rather, of course, people will call it different names according to where they come from.
It's actually A8.
A8.
You know, Kenya National Highways Authority renamed the trunk roads in Kenya, and the road that cuts through Eldoret that you're calling Uganda Road
is A8.
Actually A8.
Okay.
In Kenya, but of course it forms part of an international highway that cuts from South Africa all the way to Egypt. Yes.
And it is a big opportunity for us to reap from it, as much as we also have the southern bypass. But then another question comes in, because as the city grows, we expect more people. Do you feel that right now we have sufficient road networks within this town to handle a city status? And what is the plan in case we have more people coming in? Because that is an opportunity that can come with a limitation to the business people of this town. One of the opportunities you mentioned is that we have very good, when you look at Nairobi, it takes a lot of time to travel from one place to the other because of congestion, and we are at the risk of facing that limitation in this particular town. And of course, I know you'll have an explanation for it. Another issue that comes in is the issue of parking, and I don't know, this is the biggest question I've seen this morning. I think over 10 friends of mine have sent it to me, asking me what are we doing about the issue of parking. Bwana Tito Koyet, what is the plan?
Thank you very much. That has been a matter of serious concern to so many residents, and I can assure you that we have picked that up, and we are working on it. And you notice that in most of our streets we have reserved parking, and I think this has been the biggest challenge in our town, because you know, reserved parking is good for the business owners, because they're able to deliver their goods, their wares at any one time, and they'll be able to secure some parking. But that has become a big inconvenience to residents. For people who want to drive into the CBD, do some shopping and then go away. It has been a serious inconvenience, and we are working on that. We are actually addressing that. You may be aware, MC Kalia, that recently we issued an enforcement notice to the residents of Eldoret to do certain things. So we are not only asking the residents of Eldoret to do certain things without us doing our part. So as a municipality, we are seized of the situation, and we intend to ensure that we make as much parking available in Eldoret as possible. In fact, we have taken stock of the number of parking slots that we have in Eldoret, and I think we are going to receive that report very soon. We have also assessed the potential areas where we can have more parking, because we want to make shopping in Eldoret as convenient as possible. You may be aware that we mentioned here last time that we want to restore the glory of Eldoret. We want to restore the window shopping spirit of the past. Remember in the past, one would walk along the street, and all the wares would actually be inside the building, and then you would be able to literally window shop, and make the decisions. I remember when we were young, that's what we used to do whenever we come to this town. But a lot of the time, you'll notice now that we have people selling their stuff on the verandas, selling their stuff on the pavements, and we are asking them to put them back so that we can bring back that glory of window shopping. So along with that, we want to ensure that people are then able to get parking, so that they can be able to walk the pavements of our streets and be able to do the window shopping. So yes, parking at the moment is a big challenge that we have, but we are also talking to those people who have taken reserved parking to make them available to other residents. Part of the enforcement notice that we issued was the delivery of goods. You know, like you notice that in the CBD we have done the back lanes. That means that shops can now deliver their goods from the back lanes rather than from the frontage of their shops. And for those who don't have access through the back lanes, we are actually having a conversation with them to deliver their goods at the right time. You know, we have, for example, hardwares, you know, hardware shops along for example, if you walk down Ronangala Street, it's one of the major hardware, you know, region of our town. And sometimes at 9 in the morning, at 10, at 11, you'll find, you know, various shops delivering goods into their shops. That means that those who are walking are seriously inconvenienced. The reason why they are able to deliver at that time is because they have secured a parking slot on the frontage of their shops. So what we are saying is businesses don't have to deliver their goods at 10 in the morning or at 9 or at 11 or at 2, because the working residents of this town need their convenience. So is it possible, for example, for these shops to deliver their goods at 8 in the evening or 10 or at whatever time in the night, so that we make the streets available for the residents? Remember, by the way, that the driving population in Eldoret is only 3%. 97% of the people of Eldoret are walking the streets of their town.
Okay.
So we want to create a town that is convenient to pedestrians rather than convenient to people who are driving. That is why we've created the walkways, you know, all over. In fact, at the moment, there is no road that is constructed within the CBD or within the municipality that does not come with a walkway. And we are also doing value add for those walkways, you know, for those new roads. So we are doing roads with proper drainage, which are covered, and providing, you know, footpaths for the residents of Eldoret to be able to walk freely. Actually, we are the most walkable town in Kenya at the moment, if we can go by the number of kilometers that we have developed of footpaths. In fact, we have over 50 kilometers of footpaths in this town. That is an unprecedented length of footpaths. You know, and this worked for us very well during COVID, because the people of this town were able to walk home and walk to work in the morning, because, you know, congesting in public transportation was a big problem, because it could spread COVID very fast. But because of the walkways and what we call the non-motorized transportation infrastructure that we have developed, Eldoret was not as seriously affected by COVID as other towns were affected in Kenya. So yes, the challenges that we have in terms of parking, we are addressing that, and we are hoping that, because, for your information, the business community in Eldoret is one of the most cooperative groups that we ever met. I mean, that you can find anywhere in any city. Every time we ask to have a conversation with them, they're always available. And, you know, we are engaging them through organized groups also. For example, the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and I think Mr. Willie Kene is a friend of this particular show. He's the chairman.
We're also members of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Oh yes, that is very good. I too, at a personal level, I'm a member of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So we engage the business community through organized groups like the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the residents associations, the Juakali groups, the Matatu circles. You know, we have all these organized groups, and it makes it very, very convenient for us to be able to reach out to the residents on issues that we need to address. And allow me to take the opportunity that this forum also grants me to say to the business community and to the residents of Eldoret that we have great plans for this town. And we want to maintain their support. We want them to continuously support us. For example, in the notice that we raised, the enforcement notice that we raised on the 24th of February, we said that we want our buildings painted. It is a requirement of the law, and we intend to enforce that. Enforce might suggest that we are going to use the law to ensure it is complied with, but we don't intend to reach there. In fact, we have come up with a program where we are going to engage the various stakeholders to ensure that we paint our buildings, not only the walls, but also the roofs of our buildings. You know, Eldoret is not a very young town. It's been here since 1912. And some buildings are quite old. So what we want to do is to ensure that landlords are able to paint the buildings. We also, because we want to ensure the security in our town, we require business owners to install closed circuit television cameras or CCTV cameras, and possibly some flood lighting also. Although of course you're aware that the municipality and the county government has installed a very extensive street lighting network within the CBD. It comes with its challenges, but we have plans to deal with that. So we want our buildings painted. We want the frontages of our buildings also improved, and we are going to work with the business community and the landlords to ensure that that is done. And we hope to do this as part of the improvement of the, facelifting of our town. These many people who are already flocking into our town should increase. It's a good thing for us to, of course, receive people coming in. But we also want to ensure that we are prepared, as a municipality, as a county government, to receive these people and to accommodate them and make them comfortable in our town in terms of, setting up their businesses, residential opportunities, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
When you mentioned the issue of, I'll take you a little bit back, the issue of parking, because it's quite a unique question that I've seen, and this one is coming from somebody whom I know is a planner. And one of the integral parts of any city growing well, it really depends on how it is well planned. And of course, we've seen a few people go back to really demolish the buildings they have and come up with better structures. But then, and of course, approval goes through partly. You are among the bodies that must approve every building that comes up in Eldoret. In sorting the issue of parking, and if you observe, so many buildings are coming up without underground parking or something like that. Do you feel it is an area of concern to the municipal? And of course also as we head towards a city, do you feel it is an area of concern? Because if somebody is constructing at the moment and still not maybe considering parking as an issue, yet it is an issue that exists, what is the plan of the county to make sure that also at an individual level investors contribute to the solution of parking in Eldoret?
Yeah, thank you very much. There is a challenge within the Eldoret CBD that the plots in the CBD, most of them are so small to the extent that they don't lend themselves to creation of basement parking. Some of them are too narrow and long. Some of them, most of them are actually too small to give way for underground parking. But in spaces where underground parking can actually be created, we have required, even when they bring their request for approval of the plans that they have, to ensure that they have parking. I must admit that in the past this has been a bit. There've been a bit of reluctance on the part of the approval processes, but right now it is very stringent. All the departments are involved. All the relevant departments are involved in the approval processes to ensure that we get the views of every professional who matters in the approval process. We have also had very interesting proposals from investors who want to do silo parking within the CBD. And in fact, there is one down the road from here that one of the landlords there wishes to convert his property into a silo parking, and we support that. We've also had others who have requested for public space to develop silo parking, so as to absorb as many vehicles as possible. We also have other plans, at very advanced stages to ensure that we are able to deal with the issue of parking in the future. One of them is to take public space and develop underground parking in a big area, not too far from where we are also. And I think His Excellency the Governor and the stakeholders involved are at a very advanced stage in having a conversation with one of the schools within the CBD to see whether that space can actually be utilized as a multi-use space. For example, we know we require green spaces within Eldoret. That provides for a very good opportunity for green space. But we don't just want to have a green space for the public within the CBD. We'd also like that green space to have underground parking and very extensive underground parking, so that all the vehicles within the CBD can be absorbed. And that will, of course, improve business opportunities in town, because it means people will be able to drive in, park, and go around, doing their shopping or dining or simply taking a walk, along the streets of their town. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Of course, from your explanation, you realize that, of course, it still remains one of the key areas that still needs a lot of input. And of course, I'll be here always, I know, to really always ask you to befikia wapi, because...
And we'll keep updating.
Thank you so much. And thank you also for always making time to give in feedback. Of course, that is what makes us a unique town. Secondly, you mentioned the issue of security. And of course, this one is on a lighter note, but then I've also been a victim. I was recently a victim of I would call it robbery or something like that. Yeah, at home. A friend of mine was a victim within the same time. And when we were sharing stories, then we realized we were almost 10 people who within the same month, especially when we had the rains a few months ago, there was I don't know if, of course it has come to your attention because I'm sure you're also interested in security. We had, I would say, a spike in the cases of muggings and robbery, quote unquote. And of course, it becomes a main area of concern now that we are also headed towards a city status. What is the long-term plan? We've seen Nairobi, they've struggled with it till date, because right now it is very easy to be mugged in Nairobi while people are just watching. How different will we handle the issue of security?
Yeah, thank you very much. A lot of the time we talk about advantages of becoming a city or, advantages of urbanization. But, urbanization also comes with its challenges. And one of its challenges, of course, is security. And it's a major challenge. And you of course, you're aware that security is a national government function. Of
course, but it's an area of concern for you.
It's an area of concern to us. And that is why, for example, the governor, His Excellency Jonathan B., has made a proposal that we create 2 sets of enforcement officers. Enforcement officers for the city and enforcement officers for facilities and maybe for government facilities. And that means, of course, that we have a very specialized unit of enforcement officers who have proper training, who are almost actually as much trained as maybe a police officer would be trained, to be able to help us on issues of security within the town, and especially within the CBD. Security is a fairly tough issue, and that is why within the county government, for example, the county commissioner and the county governor are always in constant conversation on how this can be addressed. Because, we want to address this challenge for the long term, rather than, because, when there are blackouts, we have incidences of mugging and so on and so forth. However, no matter how bad the situation may sound in Eldoret, I assure you, we are still one of the safest towns in Kenya. In fact, in terms of security, we are one of the safest towns in Kenya. And I'll tell you why. Walk around our estates very early in the morning, or just wake up and loiter around. You will see scores of people taking advantage of the non-motorized transport infrastructure that we have built, running as early as 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you'll find people running. People cannot wake up at that early hour in an insecure town. So it tells you that Eldoret is a very safe place to be. You may not probably bring insecurity issues to zero, but I think in Eldoret they are at the minimum. And I suspect that because thugs are usually people from the community. I mean, they are not strangers, and sometimes they take advantage of the goodness of the people and rob people or mug people. But those are very few situations. I think yours was a very unique one, and I'm sure you're aware also that it has been addressed as we speak.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Of course, when you talk about the incident of it, everyone starts laughing at me, starting from my director. I don't know why he's laughing. I've actually been on a lighter note telling him alituma vijana wake. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to almost the tail part of this particular interview. We are speaking to Mr. Tito Koyet. He's the municipal manager, Eldoret Municipal Manager, and we are talking about us getting into city status. And of course, there's a lot of concerns. He's talked about the opportunities, and of course, they were as enticing as they sounded. But then also, we're trying to look at now what could limit some of these opportunities that are coming in, because of course you realize that as every opportunity tries to come in, there must be also things that may limit us as we head towards that direction. And the next thing that comes in, of course, for a long time we've been referred to as the bread basket of Kenya. You mentioned that during the beginning of this particular interview, and we've continued to enjoy that for a very long time. How is the city status going to affect how we do our agriculture? Of course, it is. I saw it is in the manifesto for the county government. But then, how different will we undertake our agriculture? Different from how we were doing it before the city status, especially in terms of value addition to the products that we are able to produce within this particular region. How likely is it that the residents of this town, more especially those who've already been helping us produce food for the whole country, how are they going to benefit from the city status?
Yeah. The influx of people into our town is in itself an opportunity, because it means we have more mouths to feed. And as you're aware, Eldoret is one of those places in Kenya where food is quite affordable. More people, more mouths to feed, more money in the farmer's pocket. The municipality of Eldoret has developed an urban economic plan. The urban economic plan does not just look at the urban environment. It is looking at the opportunities in a rural-urban continuum. You see, everything that happens in the rural environment affects what's happening within the town. So, for example, farmers, growing more food in the town means that the people, in the rural areas means that there are more people in town who are able to receive high-quality, affordable food. And, well-fed people are able to do business better than, hungry people. And when you have people who are well fed in a town who are able to afford, rich, affordable food, it means that crime also goes down, because a lot of the time crime arises from, suffering and want. If people are not fed, it means that they have to do everything possible to ensure that they have some money to be able to buy food. And if you live in a town like Eldoret, it means we can actually bring crime down through establishing linkages between the municipality itself or the city and the farmers, who are then able to supply the food to the people who are living in town. And that also means that people are able to make more money, because we are not transporting food from very far, and therefore we can afford, we can buy food with very little overhead cost in terms of transportation and handling, and having too many brokers in between. I'm sure you're aware that municipality of Eldoret has a very good number of markets, and most of the food actually comes from within the region. That means that, and if you wake up, for example, at 3 a.m. in this town, if you go to Kimumu Bahati Market, for example, the amount of business that is going on there with the food arriving from various parts of the region, and particularly within the county, is amazing. So farmers are reaping big. In the urban economic plan that I mentioned, value chains, opportunities have been identified that farmers can be able to engage in, that can also be able to attract investors who can be able to put in their money and create opportunities not only for the farmers, but also for those who are seeking employment. And as you may realize, becoming a city, of course, one of the biggest advantages of becoming a city is that we are able to attract investors. For example, manufacturers of various types who can be able to employ as many people as possible. And the interesting thing is that Eldoret has already received a lot of interest from so many potential investors who want to put in various value addition services, including manufacturing and agro-processing, and also in the hospitality sector. There are so many people who have expressed interest. In fact, as we speak, a number of them have requested for space to put up 5-star hotels. So, Eldoret has very few 5-star hotels. And once we are able to have a conversation with them and be able to agree, it means we are going to have a number of 5-star hotels in our town. And 5-star hotels means we are able to employ more people. Employing more people means we are able to do more conferences, for example, and therefore they're able to absorb more agricultural, products like vegetables and so on. So there is a whole linkage between the farming community and the urban living within the town.
Of course, thank you so much for that. I know the questions are now becoming too many. Somebody asking about, ask Tito Koyet on water supply, currently experiencing a lot of rationing. Of course, it is still, water and sanitation still remains one of those big concerns. If at the moment you're already experiencing moments of water shortages in some of the estates, how prepared are we to also make sure that we have constant water supply within the city? Of course, yes, you also answered that. I may now have to start giving you more than one question, because people are now starting to really send in a lot of questions. And there's also the issue of course, you've talked about security, I would say. Let's just answer the issue of water first of all, before we come back to the issue of athletics. How are we going to use it? Of course, I still feel it at a personal level that we've not taken enough time to use it as a marketing tool for this particular county. And what is the preparedness to make sure that we use the great ambassadors that we have within our vicinity to sell Eldoret as an international city, to sell it as a city that as a sports city, because we really have all it takes. Of course, the issue of stadiums and all that will come in there. We have the issue of 64 Stadium. currently not so much activity going on there. Two questions about it already. There is the issue of Kipchoge Stadium. Of course, it is a national government project, but then still sitting within our vicinity. Let's start with the sports issue, of course, then come to the issue of water and sanitation.
Okay, thank you very much. 64 Stadium is at 68% completion. So we are making progress. It has never stopped. The construction is going on. It's a huge project, of course, you may be aware. And as you're aware, just like in water and other areas, money is always a challenge, because money trickles in. It means that the progress also slows down. But it is ongoing nonetheless, and that is why we are at 68%.
68%.
For your information, we are only, I think, 16 months into the construction of 64 Stadium, and we are at 68%. Yes, we appreciate the support that the national government has given to the construction of Kipchoge Keino Stadium. Although we are now at par, after 10 years, we are at par with 64, with Kipchoge Keino Stadium. But there is a commitment by the national government, because of the coming devolution conference, to support the completion of Kipchoge Keino Stadium, so that it's also available for our athletes to use. And we are hoping before the end of the year we have also completed the 64 Stadium, so that we make it available to the residents of this town, to especially our athletes, to find a place where they can be able to practice, in a safe environment. There are other initiatives, of course, to ensure that our town has sufficient sporting facilities. For example, there are plans to ensure that all the schools within the municipality have good, play fields, which can be used by, for other sporting activities, not just by the schools themselves, but also other sporting activities to support, of course, the two stadia that we are building. I don't know whether you are aware that the county government has constructed a high-altitude training center in Chagaya. Yes. When you're in Chagaya...
Of course, I think I've even gone there.
You've gone there. Now, it's also at a very advanced stage of being completed. So there are a lot of complementary initiatives which are being carried out to ensure that the sporting industry is supported within Uasin Gishu. For your information, when you're in Chagaya and you decide to descend towards Nandi, you descend about 8,000 feet within less than 1 hour. So it's also a very good sporting ground where people can actually test their stamina, as you go from very high altitude to very low altitude within a very short time. I don't know what impact that one has on athletes, but we think that it's going to be great. And of course, Chagaya is in Timboroa. Timboroa is one of the highest altitudes in Kenya, highest habitable altitudes in Kenya. That is not a mountain. That means it has its unique characteristics. So alongside, all the other initiatives of developing the sports facilities in Eldoret, of course, we are reaching out to athletes to be able to work with them, to brand our town, and to be able to sell it. For your information, during the devolution conference, there is going to be some competition, athletics competition. And professional athletes have been invited to participate, because athletics is one of those unique sports that we have in this region. That is why Eldoret is the home of champions. I'm sure you know some county which is called the source of champions. Another one is the home of champions.
The home of champions.
This is the city of champions.
The city of champions.
Eldoret is the city of champions. Uasin Gishu is made up of the champions. Mm-hmm. And this champion thing is a mindset thing. It's not just running. It is a mindset thing. That is why you have all these integrated plans which have been developed that are moving in tandem, and at a very good pace, I must say, and I think very soon we will have a completely transformed face of sporting in Eldoret, and also the entire face of Eldoret is going to change very soon. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And still coming back there about the sports, do you have a clear plan to use the athletes to really brand the town? Is there a written plan already to use the athletes, apart from just the devolution conference that is coming up? Is there a clear plan to use them as brand ambassadors, just like I've seen Europe using them, so the footballers so much for to sell their cities? You notice London is really using the teams that come from London to brand London, to make sure that London is celebrated because of its sportsmen. Do you have a clear plan as the city of champion, the home of champion, the source of champions, to collectively use our sportsmen as a way of branding ourselves? Is there a document that exists?
Yes, those ones are at a very advanced stage. Unfortunately, I think as Africans, we they say our athletes are recognized all over the world, but they are less recognized
at home.
At home. So they are deliberate efforts, by the way, and I think recently His Excellency the Governor actually met with one of the greatest champions of the land, Eliud Kipchoge, to have a conversation around how they can also help to brand not only Eldoret as a city, but also to brand Uasin Gishu and the entire region. And there's a whole set of issues that can be done to take advantage of the sportsmen as our brand ambassadors, not only nationally but also internationally. So yes, there are plans to do that, and they are very deliberate plans. And I think very soon we are going to see, the fruits of some of those discussions that His Excellency the Governor and the entire executive of the county government of Uasin Gishu and the municipality of Eldoret have been doing to ensure that we take advantage of our athletes, who incidentally are so ready and so willing to support those initiatives to ensure that we brand our city.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Too many questions and a very short time to ask. Of course, when we get you, we really want to ask you a lot of questions. But then as we come to the tail part, this is something that concerns you majorly as a municipality. And of course, I'm sure it will also go into legislation. Currently, we have, I would say, a massive exodus of Kenyans going to other countries. And there is the issue of a lot of also people coming in to say we are agencies and all that. Let's talk about regulation of the agencies that are taking people abroad. Of course, I don't want to mention any case, but then recently we've actually experienced a lot of media coverage over the same. I'm sure it's an area of concern to the municipal of Eldoret, especially in terms of regulating that. Though I'm aware that they maybe not... it's an issue that may need a lot of legislation, but then what is your imagination as the Eldoret municipal manager of how the agencies should run?
Yeah, unfortunately only negative things are always highlighted, but I can assure you that the agents who are in this town have done a tremendous job. They've done a very good job. Some of them are identifying opportunities for the residents of Eldoret, abroad. And so many residents of Eldoret and Uasin Gishu have gone abroad because of these agents. So many agents have identified schooling and university education opportunities for our residents and our the residents of Eldoret and our county and the entire region. So they've done a tremendous job. Unfortunately, of course, there are certain instances where certain individuals or agencies or agents decide to do criminal acts. And as you know, every criminal act has repercussions in law, and therefore those challenges are addressed accordingly, in line with the laws that regulate those issues. So we don't have legislative challenges or regulatory challenges or legal challenges. They are there. I mean, criminals are criminals, and they'll be dealt with according to the law.
Do you feel there is need to have specific regulations to regulate that industry? Because it, of course, I've had other interviews with even some of the stakeholders in that industry, and it still remains one of those industries that you still feel that has not actually been, there is no clear way of becoming an agent. Of course, there is legislations here and there, but then there are so many ways to reaching that destination. Do you feel there is need for a specific legislation, or is just a matter of, or rather the question would be, how do you feel we should handle the issues that we are facing? Because almost every building now in Eldoret, unlike 2 years ago, it has an agency. Do you feel there is need to regulate that industry separately?
That tells you, that there is an opportunity. Okay, and you cannot limit people who have identified opportunities. So the only thing is, for those people who want to find work abroad or to study abroad, they need to do their proper due diligence to ensure that they are dealing with credible agents, because crooks would always take advantage of opportunities that come along. And every individual has a personal responsibility in ensuring that they are not conned of their money, their hard-earned cash. Some have sold land, some have sold property to be able to, pay for opportunities abroad. But, those are conscious decisions by individuals. And so the real point is, any individual who wishes to use the services of an agent has the responsibility to ensure that they are dealing with a credible agent. So the issues of regulation and so on, in my view, are not necessary, because we already have sufficient, laws to deal with that. But at the end of the day, before you part with your money as a potential student abroad or getting a job abroad, ensure you do proper due diligence, because you see, it's a personal decision. A lot of the time, it's a personal decision. Although, of course, we found situations maybe where groups have been fleeced of their money, but I'm sure you know that those have been taken up by the relevant agencies of government to address that and ensure that justice is given to those who probably have lost their money. But bottom line, every individual who is interested in the services of an agent should ensure that they deal with a credible agent.
You deal with a credible agent. That is Mr. Tito Koyet. He is the municipal manager, Eldoret. And sir, of course, we have a lot lined up. We have a lot to unpack, but then I can see my director already looking at me, kikando kanda, and telling me, of course, we really need to wrap up. And of course, I'll give you a chance to now give you a closing remarks. Of course, I know it's been a very wide conversation. Let me give you some time to also now give you a closing remarks and a summary of what you would want the people of Eldoret and even investors coming into this city to know.
Yeah, thank you very much. As we are going towards the Devolution Conference in August, I want to encourage the investors in our town, especially the landlords, to paint their buildings, to pave their streets, to do the CCTV cameras, to paint the roofs of their buildings. If you happen to fly over Eldoret during the day, you'll notice that most of our buildings have rusted, roofs, and we need to paint that. We need to facelift our town. We need to work together with the business community and individual residents. We need to work with the neighborhood communities, and we are encouraging them to help us to ensure that we comply with the bylaws of the municipality and also the laws of the county government and also the national laws. We want to improve the quality of life in our town. We need their support. Let's work together to ensure that we create one of the best cities that Africa could ever have, and I think we have the environment to be able to do that. The county governor is very supportive of this. The entire executive is extremely supportive. The municipal board is very supportive. And we have also seen extensive support from private individuals and also businesses in our town. So my call is that let us work together. Let us make life in our town a good life. Let us improve the quality of everything that we do. On our part, we assure the residents that we are ready and willing to support them. We normally have quarterly citizens fora. The law requires us to meet the residents of the town every quarter. In fact, as we are speaking right now, we are planning to meet the residents of this town this quarter, possibly before the end of early next month, to ensure that we bring up issues that are of concern to them, to discuss issues of concern to them, and be able to use that to prioritize the activities that we carry out in the municipality. For example, how we prioritize infrastructure development depends on what the people tell us. Anything that we do within the municipality depends on the feedback we get from the residents of the town, and we want to ensure this becomes an integral part of how we do business, so that where we are, where I sit as a municipal manager, where my board is, where the county executive is, works together very closely with the residents to be able to make decisions that affect our lives within the city of Eldoret, the future city of Eldoret, and of course the current municipality of Eldoret.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for making time to be with us this particular morning. It is always a honor to have you on the Morning Glory Show. We look forward to few conversations in the future. Of course, as you've mentioned, we are expecting the Devolution Conference, and I think that one would be a round table. We would still plan a round table as a Very Nice Media, Dawi Africa, and also the Morning Glory Show to just also talk about how we can maximally benefit from the Devolution Conference that is coming up. And of course, it is also our hope that by that time we would be a city. I'll just give you a chance to, I can see you have something to say as
with regard to Devolution Conference, I think it's important for the people of Eldoret to know that we are going to receive about 10,000 people in this town. These 10,000 people are going to eat in restaurants, they are going to sleep in hotels, they are going to walk our streets, they are going to be here for the period, which is about 5 days. So we want the people of Eldoret to be prepared. Some have Airbnbs, they should improve on the quality of their services, in hotels, in restaurants, and particularly in hotels, they need to ensure that they spruce up their facilities to be able to receive these people. We'll have people from 47 counties who will be arriving here. We'll have probably 47 governors, maybe 47 all the senators. We will have, the entire country being here. In fact, I understand we may have some foreign guests, coming here. Of course, His Excellency the President will also be here. And I think the people of Eldoret need to be prepared. The business community need to be prepared. Ensure that you don't run short of anything. From those people who operate, during the day, and even those who provide their services at night, like the restaurants and all that, to ensure that they are ready to receive Kenya in August. Yeah.
Okay, that has well been said, and I won't be adding nothing to it. Let's prepare to reap from the Devolution Conference. This has been the Morning Glory Show, the Social Square edition. And tomorrow being Friday, we'll be tackling something to do with art. Of course, it is also an area of interest for Mr. Tito Koyet. Tomorrow we'll be talking to environmentalists. There is a group of young people who've come together to use the influence they have in the region for environmental conservation. And I'm sure I'll send you the link for that particular show tomorrow.
I look forward to
it. Yeah. And so tomorrow, see you tomorrow on on that particular segment. Of course, it is usually the arts, entertainment, and sports, but tomorrow we'll be having artists. So see you tomorrow. And with that, on behalf of everyone who's made effort to make sure that we have this particular broadcast, my name is MC Kalia. morning, everybody. Wakey, wakey. It's time for Morning Glory. My name is MC Kalia, and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going. Good morning, everybody. Wakey, wakey. It's time for Morning Glory. My name is MC Kalia, and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going. Good morning, everybody. Wakey, wakey. It's time for Morning Glory. My name is MC Kalia, and I'll be your captain for the next 1 hour, 30 minutes. Let's have this conversation going.